everybody. Welcome into Talking Fitchburg on this Friday, August 26, 2022. I'm Jeremy Cresby, and welcome into another edition of TF. We got a busy show coming up for you today. We're going to check in with the Fitchburg EMS, and we have Patrick Anderson. We're giving Jeff a break. Checking in with Patrick Anderson, your chief of EMS. We'll have a full update on how things have been going this year and looking ahead here to the near future. Plus, we'll check in on a scam, a lottery text message scam. Yeah. And it is definitely fooling people, so we want to break that down. We'll check in with our friends at the Department of Trade Consumer Protection to keep you protected from that scam. But first, let's get you a couple of headlines as we work through this Friday. And we start with road construction. That'll be starting on Sain Road on Monday. City is planning improvements on Sain Road from Aurora Avenue to McCoy Road. The project concepts include a conversion of rural roadway to an urban roadway with curb and gutter and storm sewer. This will be starting closer to the Lacey Road side, but it'll be between Lacey Road and East Shore Parkway for this fall, and then they'll continue their work at the intersections and throughout the project area there, as you see on your screen. But know that Monday will be kicking off that project. Board of review for the city of Fitchburg is set, and if you want to get your objections in, you have some time left here. You got to get those in soon, though. The board will be meeting on August 31st at 9 a.m. Anyone wishing to file an objection must contact the city clerk to complete and submit the required objection form supplied by the city prior to appearing before the Board of Review. Objections will be scheduled to be heard by the board in the order in which they are received by the city clerk's office. More information is online at our website, fitchburgwi.gov. And the Munch Fall schedule is set. They have a mobile food pantry and will be bringing meals on Fridays to the following areas: Southdale Park from 1 to 1:20 p.m., the Pines Apartment 1:30 to 1:50 p.m., and the Fairways Apartment 2 to 2:30 p.m. All right, that does it for our headlines. Coming up next, we open up our digest. We'll check in with Fitchburg EMS. Patrick Anderson, the chief, is on next right here on TF.
Considerando el número de desastres naturales que ocurren en los Estados Unidos, es probable que en la próxima década todas las regiones tengan que lidiar con alguna clase de emergencia. Entre la escuela, los deportes y la vida social, es probable que cuando suceda usted no esté con sus hijos. ¿Saben ellos qué hacer? Listo.gov/niños tiene información y herramientas educativas para facilitar esta conversación. Cuando llegue el momento, se sentirán preparados y no asustados. Así que hable con su familia hoy mismo.
Así que no le cuento todo y sobre de encajar, siento como que me va a decir que es una ridiculez.
Puedo entender eso completamente.
Bailando entre dos vidas, el pasado y el futuro.
Man, it's lonely. Like, going through life lonely.
There is the therapeutic aspect of music, just expressing how you feel. I'm going to talk to Howie about his feelings, make it into a song.
After you joined our family, it was like, I really do feel complete now.
Well, welcome back into Talking Fitchburg. Joining me today from Fitchburg EMS. Wait, are my eyes hurt here? Is that Patrick Anderson, the director of Fitchburg EMS?
It is. Jeff is out this week, so yeah, I'm gonna fill in those big shoes for the deputy chief today.
Hey, we like chatting with you. We pretty much chat offline all the time, but
yes.
To get you on camera, whew, that means something. So
Thanks.
Jeff usually jumps right into this.
Yeah,
you're not a camera. Have you watched Talking Fitchburg? Just saying.
Every day.
Every day, you darn right you do. No, appreciate you taking the time, Patrick. It's nice to see you, and what a great chance to catch up and find out what's happening at Fitchburg EMS. You guys are always busy, and it's a lot of factors and whatnot. But as we look at a department and this year, what would you say as a department update? How have things been going this year? And as we're going to finish out the year, we're going to set some records. Are we going to? What are we going to see?
I think we're going to tie last year, right? It's not something, unfortunately, when we're busy, that means other people are having some pretty bad days. So, we don't wish that volume to go up by any means. But so last year, that 20 to 21 and 21 to 22, or 20 to last year, we had almost a 19% increase in calls, just an unrealistic, I know it's unrealistic, but just some crazy increase. Historically, we go back to 1977, right? So somebody somewhere kept all that data. Looking at it historically, or that average of a 45 years has been about a 3% call increase every year. So usually we're right around there, and last year was a 19% increase. Absolutely. So yeah, we rounded out last year at just about 4,200 calls, that's just a crazy amount of calls, and we are absolutely on target to hit that number again this year. Figuring that out, it's roughly about 12 calls a day. Now we have more than one ambulance, right? So we have 3 ambulances across the district. So big picture stuff, it's a very manageable number. But we say that averages to that 12 calls a day, which averages work, right? It's usually 2 or 3 calls a day, or 20 to 25 calls a day. Somewhere we're right in the middle. But we're on target this year for about the same number of calls, about 4,200 calls.
Wow.
We are tracking we're out more often, all the time that those ambulances are out, we're looking at that information. When do we need to expand? As I'm sure is a hot topic here on the Fitchburg website, is the Town of Madison acquisition. So is that November 1st or October 31st at midnight, right? I don't know why Halloween, that's just always usually a bad night for fire, EMS, and police. Midnight on the 31st, the 911 center is going to flip that little switch, and all those calls in that little Southdale neighborhood of the Town of Madison, as the Town of Madison becomes Fitchburg. That actually, based on some historical data, that will actually add another 350 calls to us next year.
That's yeah, it's an impressive number, but good forethought in the public safety world that you guys and the fire department putting Station 3 out there. So you're actually, for the residents in the Southdale neighborhood, they're actually going to get a quicker response for fire and EMS. So while you are picking up 300 additional plus calls a year, the response time for that area will be a lot better than it is currently. So they got that going for it, certainly. And just that is an insane number when you say 3% and then jump to 20%. And I know it's hard to, if you're not in EMS or public safety, you're like, well, I don't know how to chalk that up, but that's a lot of calls. It doesn't matter. There's a lot of calls for. And yes, it's 2 cities, but even with the 2 cities, that is just an insane number. How is that compared then with staffing? Has the staffing levels been pretty sufficient, and you're able to keep the ambulances going out the doors?
So kind of like, as you said here, somebody way before me had that forethought back, I think it was 2010 or 2011, when they recognized about that whole Town of Madison acquisition there, going on just over 10 years now, and putting that 3rd station in there. So we were set, that fire and EMS, that 3rd station on South Saline Road there was really built, was twofold for the EMS world. One of those was that response time, right? Because otherwise the next closest ambulance was at the time was at King James Way, which is now moved just a little bit down to Marketplace. That's a pretty significant response time up into the Town of Madison. So the foresight of in 2019, the fall of 2019, is when we staffed that ambulance, opened up a 3rd ambulance, added 7 new people, bring us to those 3 ambulances. So it's manageable. As we continue to look at that 3% growth, that 5% growth, and now I'm going to count that this 20% growth last year was a hiccup, and we know we're not going to see that, but we still mount those numbers up. That's about another 500 calls in the next couple of years. That's more ambulances. So about the last couple of months or so have been started tracking, kind of like you're asking, how many times are all of our ambulances out, right? I'd love to put 100 ambulances in the street at every street corner so you get it in 2 minutes. Not ever going to happen. But for the last couple of months, we've actually averaged about 20 times over the course of the month where all 3 of those ambulances are out on calls. Fortunately,
Wow.
most of those times, a 4th call hasn't come in, but again, tracking those numbers. So 6 times since the beginning of the year, we've actually had to have a neighboring ambulance service come in because we were out of resources. So that is a really good number that we track, that I track, because that helps us predict, right, where do we need those ambulances, and how many more, and when do we need them, to predict what that future growth is going to be.
That's incredible. That is a startling number too. I mean, when you really think about 3 ambulances being out all at the same time, that is pretty incredible. When you get to that large call volume, how does that work with staff? Like, are they getting stressed out? Are they? I mean, that can be a lot of. That's a lot.
It's a lot. And that's where we try to find that happy medium between, 12 calls a day between 3 ambulances. It's very manageable, right? That's each one. And now I'd like to say that that is evenly distributed over the course of all 3 of them. It's absolutely not, right? And it's the nature of what we do is it's unpredictable, right? They could all be in Verona, all be in the north side, they can all be right in the middle. Or one of them doesn't turn a wheel and one of them does 12. We are pretty close, this public safety thing, making sure that we're all doing a good mental health check-in with each other. And that's part of that growth as well, right? Though it's manageable to do 5 or 6 calls a day, when you start doing 8, 10, 12, you get somewhere like the city of Madison where they are just running and running and running. Part of the expansion, not just because we can't cover our own calls, but that the provider burnout, making sure that each one of those providers is not getting overwhelmed, right? We got significant personnel to give people the time off they need, the respite they need, and keep them acute, right? We don't want them working. They already work 24 to 48 hour shifts. I don't want them tired. They don't want to be tired, right? That's when mistakes start to get made. So making sure that they're on their game and they can take care of everybody at that moment's notice. So right now we're sitting at a good staffing. We, for purposes of information, we have 21 full-time medics. It takes 7 people at one station to keep an ambulance running for 24 hours. So we have 21 full-timers, myself and Jeff are the 2 administrators. We fill in here and there. And then we're currently up to about 14 part-timers. Those part-timers then pick up all those vacation hours and sick time and all those special events that we do are at the Alliant Energy Center. As your Fact TV spooling up here for football, right? So we'll have ambulances out at the football games here in Verona, big cross-country meet on Labor Day weekend, Burby Derby, right? All these special events out here in the neighborhood, we get all our LTEs out there. So yeah, in addition to 4,200 calls, we're out at some 50, 60 events throughout the district as well through the year.
Yeah, that which is just impressive in its own. I mean, on top of running the regular ambulance, you're still out there covering events, still got to do the outreach stuff. And so like any of the other department, you are busy, and busy is good to a point. And but there's still a lot of things that have to happen. One other note is you have Ems Intern now as well. Tell us a little bit about that position.
We do. So about 2 years ago, we partnered with Sun Prairie EMS, also has an intern, as well as Madison College. Did kind of a look at our field as a whole and started trying to figure out how we get the underrepresented populations, which in the field of kind of fire and EMS is women and persons of color. How do we get them into our field, right? Because we got to do that reach out and start them young, right? There's a process. You don't get to just say tomorrow I'm going to go apply for an EMS job, right? There's a process to get there for fire and EMS. So about 2 years ago, partnered with Madison College. They actually have some high school and they're predominantly done in high school, but essentially they work with those underrepresented groups to get them involved at a young age, particularly in high school, in the fire and EMS field. They have kind of some of those who have really expressed an interest in EMS have chosen that's what they want to do. They've been kind of identified through the faculty at the college and partnered up with, again, Sun Prairie took one last year. They only had one this year. So we took one this year. Her name is Molly. She started with us about last month, has very much an interest in the field of EMS. So she was brought in. It's a paid EMS internship. So that's the first time we've had a paid EMS before. She has this kind of batch of hours. She has a mentor here at Fitrona. She actually has a mentor at the college. She connects with both of them to make sure that kind of she is getting what she needs to be successful in the field here on our side, as well as if we can't meet those needs at the college side. And so she'll be here for 2 years, and she gets her paramedic technician degree. So this year she'll do all of her gen eds while she's an EMT. She came to us as an EMT. So she's been riding as a third. I think she's actually going to be out at the football game this Friday night. Again, if anyone wants to go find her, say hello, see how it's going with her. But yeah, so she's riding as a third, that mentor. She'll go into paramedic school with just a ton of experience. And then while she's in paramedic school, she will continue to ride here and just get lots of really good exposure, lots of good experience at a very busy service. And then in 2 years, the hope is we can bring her on at least a part-time position. But if she's not successful with us, we have helped kind of bring those underrepresented populations back to our discipline, and hopefully get to share her with hopefully we get to keep her. But if we don't get to keep her, we have a really highly trained person who we will get to share with our profession.
Well, you're setting, first off, congratulations, Molly, and, welcome to Fitchburg EMS and Fitchburg, Verona. But more importantly, you're setting you're setting Fitchburg up for great opportunities for training and top-notch training at Fitchburg. I can tell you that from looking in on the outside that you guys are top-notch in training and what you're doing to produce good medics, like you said, and stay up to date. So, hopefully you're it's a building stone or a stepping stone to, future interns that come through the program. And yeah, it's sort of like developing talent. You're developing the talent to hopefully bring them in at the time that everything kind of works out. So it is a great opportunity. And for those who don't know it, no matter what level of EMS, there's a lot of hands-on training, and there's hours that you got to put in to train to get your skills up. And like you said, Fitchburg is a busy service, so it's a great opportunity to see a little bit of everything and get some hands-on experience.
So we're such out there as loan providers, right? They're well trained. We got a good set of protocols, but for the most of the time, you see two people in an ambulance, and we do get a lot of support from our fire service. But most of the time, you're back in the back of that. Somebody's got to drive, right? So you're in the back of that ambulance, and you can yell forward and bounce ideas off each other, but it's truly that experience that gets you out there to see those things. Got to be able to take care of people, by yourself.
Absolutely. All right, Patrick, we've ran out of time. We got a good update from you. Appreciate your time as always. Stay safe out there and don't be a stranger. Come on back on the show. You did a great job.
Thank you. All right. Well, and I'll try to do a couple times a year, make sure I reach out and push Jeff aside and get my smiling face out here.
Yeah, right. Well, I'll have to come and do a personal visit to get you back on the show. I know how this works.
Sounds great.
All right, Patrick Anderson, you're deputy. You're not deputy chief. You are the chief, aren't you?
I am the guy. Yep.
I always say director, but yeah, chief, fine, whatever.
It works.
All right. Patrick, you're chief of EMS for Toronto EMS. Appreciate his time. And check the website and their Facebook page. Stay up to date on what's happening at Toronto EMS. Take a quick break. More to come. You're watching TF.
See on page 4 that the projections need to be blood. Next Thursday?
Seriously? Thursday? Can't do that.
This is really inconvenient.
I have yoga that day.
I have no time for this.
So
I can't do Thursday, but I can do Friday.
Disasters don't plan ahead. You can. Talk to your loved ones about how you're going to be ready in an emergency. Don't wait. Communicate.
Type 2 diabetes can have a big impact on your life, but how can it be prevented? Well, the first step is knowing if you have prediabetes, a serious medical condition that puts you at high risk for type 2 diabetes. 1 in 3 American adults has prediabetes, but more than 80% don't know they have it. The good news is, prediabetes can be reversed, and for many people, healthy changes in their daily routine can make a big difference. Take the 1-minute risk test today at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Severe weather can strike anytime, anywhere, but there's a simple way to stay safe. Hey, Jim Cantore here. I stay safe in dangerous weather by planning ahead. You can stay safe too with a few easy steps. Build an inexpensive kit with supplies for your family's needs. Write down important information like phone numbers and medications. Always talk with your family and remember any pets in your planning. Be ready, be safe. Start your plan today at ready.gov/plan.
If you love them enough to suck the snot out of their nose at 4 a.m., then surely you'll check NHTSA.gov/the right seat to make sure they're in the right car seat.
The black truck? Hey, Christina from accounting.
Yeah, hi.
Hey, I used to date a girl named Christina.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then she dumped me for my best friend. You want to see some photos of them that I took?
I don't.
I thought we talked about this, buddy.
Buzzed and overshared again?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna call a car.
That's a smart idea.
So, yeah, I know, that's why I did it.
Hey, you're gonna get back to the top of the mountain.
Does that mean I'm gonna get back with Christina?
No.
Oh.
No.
Well, welcome back into Talking Fitchburg. Joining today from the Department of Ag, Trade, Consumer Protection. We say DCAP, DACAP, DUCAP. Doesn't matter how you say it. They're still a great resource. And I've got Michael here, keeps putting up with me each and every month. I appreciate you. How you doing, sir?
Doing great, Jeremy. Happy to be here again.
And we're going to be talking about the lottery. No, you're not going to give tips out today on how to play the lottery. We're going to talk about a scam that has popped up, and it has to do with text message. The lottery sending text messages. Well, this just sounds great.
If only it were true. And if I had those winning lottery numbers, I would keep them as much as I like you, but sorry.
Yeah, you wouldn't be here today. Let's admit it first and foremost. We would see you. That background that you used to have with the cabin, that would have been where you would have been.
Right.
Well, this scam is interesting. We've seen a lot of variations of these text messages in various spaces, but this one specifically, yeesh.
Yeah, in this one, they try to add a note of legitimacy because they're actually using the names of a previous lottery winner here in Wisconsin. And so what's happening is they're using those names and under the guise that that couple wants to give away some of their winnings, in an act of philanthropy or generosity. And we see two different variations. They're sending out text messages, one of them saying that they're giving away $300,000 to 100 people and you were the lucky recipient. And so all you have to do is contact one of their agents. On another one, we're seeing that they're giving away $70,000 and they'll use a different agent's name. And in both messages, they're telling the recipient that they have to call or text or click on a link message to arrange for the proceeds. And of course, it's all false.
It's too good to be true, of course. I guess the question is how do you avoid these types of scams? But really, it goes back to the basics. This was an unwanted, unsolicited message, and red flag right there to start things off.
Yeah, absolutely. I would hope that, every once in a while you're going to get something that seems like it might be legitimate, something like this. If you get a random text out of the blue saying somebody wants to give you $100,000, there should be a lot of red flags going off. And the key that you want to make sure you don't do is you don't click on any of the links in the text message, because it's being sent in that medium. It's going to give you an opportunity for, when you click on the link, being infected with malware, viruses, potentially a ransomware. And this is all being done to try and either get information from your phone, from you, or access to your device.
Yeah, just it puts you down a path that you don't even know, and you don't want to know what could be happening there. So as far as avoiding the scams, you got some simple tips here. Know who you're sharing your information with.
Right. Something like this, you want to make sure that you're not just clicking on those links, making those phone calls, giving away information to a random unknown source. A lot of times you're going to get calls from who you might think is possibly legitimate. And so we also give some tips there on, if you don't believe that number, hang up, go online, find whatever that business or entity that called you and use one of the numbers that are published. And that gives you a little bit more confidence. You might be calling the right person. But, even then, just being aware of, what's being asked, why it's being asked, and what they're going to do with it.
And then if you did, so you may have asked some questions and may have thought it was legit, turns out it wasn't. What would you say if you thought, well, I think I gave out some of my personal information here. What can I do?
First thing you want to do is check your credit reports because, 99.9% of the time, this information is being sought so that they can use it for financial gain. And so check your credit report, see if there's been any activity, and then also immediately put on a freeze. You want to make sure you put on the 3 credit agencies. And what that freeze does is it prohibits any new lines of credit from being opened with your identity. And it's very easy to do, very quick, it's free. And it's a great security tool because then you control when new lines of credit can be opened. And it doesn't mean that it's going to prohibit you from getting a new credit card or a loan for a car or a mortgage, because all you need to do is call in, remove it, apply for whatever it is you want to apply, and then go back and put it back on. It's one of the greatest, easiest tools out there that we want people to be aware of.
And you're going to keep seeing variations of this, just like we've seen with the phones, the constant phone calls with this, the phishing email. This will probably become more common, if not already common, with text message things. And again, with the key outliners, it has a name tied to it. It has a financial gain to it. So this is probably a rinse and repeat discussion that we'll have for years on end. So we've got to be prepared for this.
It absolutely is. And to illustrate that point, a few months back, you and I had a quick conversation about this very similar text message scam going around that was exploiting local fire departments and wanting to sell T-shirts and having these phone numbers. And it's the exact same model with the attempt to phish and get that information. All they do is they just put a different face on it.
Yeah, it's terrible at that. And I think the tips you've given us here today, Michael, are right in there with where we need to be and stay ahead of this. But if people do want to learn more about staying protected, reporting this or more, where would you suggest they go?
Go to our website, datcp.wi.gov. We have a lot of information on the credit freezes that I talked about. In fact, last week, we just issued a consumer alert on this very topic to help add a few more details and some other information about how the scam is working. And we also have a library of other things on other scams and types and how to avoid them and what to be aware of.
All right, Michael, thank you so much for your time as always. We'll check back in with you next month.
Thanks, Jeremy. Appreciate the time to help spread the message.
You betcha. Department of Trade Consumer Protection, that's where it starts. And please report these. The more we report them, the more we can get out ahead of this and share these types of information with you so you can spot these scams and others and we can shut down those fraudsters. We'll take a quick break. More to come. You're watching Talking Fitchburg.
Como padre, todos los días son un desafío y hay que estar ahí presentes. No importa lo cansado que uno esté, hay que estar ahí presentes para ellos. Cuando los niños aprenden algo nuevo, es ese momento mágico y especial. Y creo que presenciar eso, ese momento es mi favorito.
The central and midwestern U.S. averages more than 850 tornadoes each year, and lately, the number of floods has been rising in the region too. So chances are, there will be more twisters and floods near here again. And between school, sports, and social lives, chances are, you won't be with your kids when it happens. Will they know what to do? Ready.gov/kids has all the educational tools and information to make the conversation easy. When the time comes, chances are they'll feel prepared, not scared. So talk with your family today.
Welcome back into Talking Fitchburg. Wrapping up the show, I want to thank Michael from Department of Trade Consumer Protection and Patrick Anderson from Fitchburg EMS joining us. We'll get those posted up and, of course, have a fun weekend and stay connected with Fact TV. That's the of course part. Have a good weekend.